what year-end show would be complete without a year-end countdown? So today, we present ours. It's Coach Randy's Top 10 Best Things That Happened on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in 2017. Number 10. This is a very background kind of thing, but I take credit for the 10th best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017. Over the Christmas break in 2016, I had a little time to kill, and I spent it building some new 3D graphics animations that I thought might improve the look and the production values of the show. The first big creation was the animation that we still use today for the show's opening, with the flying scoreboard and the Prodigy Bowlers Tour manhole cover rolling down the lane. This animation was first rolled out on our first show of 2017 back in January, and the graphics were updated and more were added over the summer for the launch of our 2017-18 bowling season. Number 9. Well, the number 9 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017 actually has its roots in 2016. The coveted trophy pin. Early on, when Prodigy first began back in the fall of 2016, the kids would bowl simply for bragging rights. Then, in a comment on our October 22nd, 2016 show featuring a match between Logan and Charlie, a woman named Amanda Mayer wrote, "Along with bragging rights, I wonder if more kids would get involved in the little competitions if there were something else to win." I wholeheartedly agreed with her, but I knew I wasn't going to be purchasing expensive prizes each week. It took a while noodling over her suggestion, but eventually I came up with an idea that I thought might work. After doing a considerable amount of digging, I found a company that would make bowling pins with anything printed on them that you could dream up. So, after spending some time in Photoshop working on the graphics, I ordered the coveted trophy pin, which arrived just in time for our first show of 2017. And the first winner who actually got to sign it immediately upon winning? That was Christian, when he won his first ever title on Prodigy Bowlers Tour.
He's shaking.
Number 8. My number 8 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017 is all the little kids that appeared on the show. It's always been my hope for Prodigy Bowlers Tour to not only showcase some of the best young talent in the area, but also to give us an opportunity to show off some of the younger kids who aren't yet some of the best young bowlers in the area, but might very well grow into that role someday. Besides, there's nothing cuter than watching a bunch of young kids bowling. Future prodigies, outtakes from league bowling. This is William. William is 7. And my favorite thing about William is that every time I see him, the first thing he does is give me a hug. How could I possibly not love these kids?
Let's see you make this. How are you going to make this?
I'll turn it and curve it, try to make it.
Okay, hit those 2 on the right. You might slide one over.
Okay.
You can do this. You can do this. Come on. Show me how.
He's like, I don't need no stinking finger holes.
Oh, he's going to give it a go. He got a hook, though. It's going the wrong way. That's okay. You know what? You got the hard one.
Our tip of the week comes from 7-year-old William, who reminds you,
Turn it and curve it, try to make it.
so, from watching some of our young two-handers develop, but it's little Rudy who's going to take first prize, to seeing some of our young kids who were about to age into the varsity group this fall. Juwan throws a little better shot this time, right in the hole. Showing off our little ones has always been one of my primary objectives for Prodigy. It's where you first met a young fellow named Hunter, whose first appearance on Prodigy came back on our very first single ball eliminator. How about all 10? And a little dab will do you. Let's get a look at this reaction. There you go. Number 7, all the wacky formats. One of the things I hear again and again, both from people who leave comments on the videos, as well as from parents of the Prodigy bowlers and the bowlers themselves, is that they really enjoy how we mix up the formats from week to week. This began almost as soon as Prodigy began, and it's always been my intent to change things up, if only to keep viewers from getting bored. But it also has a practical reason. I want the competition to be tailored to the kids who are bowling that day. For instance, on the very first single ball eliminator show we did back in early 2017, we did it because most of our A players were out of town at a tournament, and I just wasn't sure if we'd have enough kids willing to spend all afternoon going through a round of qualifying and a stepladder. So it was born out of necessity to keep things short and fun. What I didn't expect was that the format would become one of our favorites, and one that really puts the kids under extreme pressure. But the list of formats is pretty long and includes such things as the cutthroat mulligan, the 7th frame sweat, the Prodigy Team Challenge, the Adult Youth Scotch Doubles 9-pin no-tap, Suicide no-tap, Pinpoint, the double ball elimination, the Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout, and my favorite of them all, the Halloween-inspired format called Trick or Treat. As easy as 1, 2, 3. You can be sure the switching up of the formats is one feature that will be around as long as we keep doing Prodigy. Game over! The number 6 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017. All the visitors to Prodigy. Here's a trivia question for you. Who was the first player from another bowling center besides our home center of Brunswick Zone Roswell to come try their hand at qualifying for Prodigy Bowlers Tour? You might be surprised to learn that it was C.J. Sanders. C.J. bowled with us on January 21st, but failed to advance to the show. But he holds the distinction as the first ever visitor to Prodigy. 1 week later, the format was a little different and enabled both of our visitors that day, Big Logan M. and his buddy Andrew from Stars and Strikes Incoming, to make the show. So they became the first visitors to actually compete on the show. That was the week the competition came down to the Battle of the Network Logans.
You've been here before, but not against a foreigner.
Yeah. Should be pretty fun.
He's like twice your size. It hardly seems like a fair fight.
Big Logan M squared off against Roswell's Little Logan F. And Big needed this strike to win. It's a little high. 4-pin. Since that time, the floodgates have opened, and we've hosted dozens of bowlers from neighboring centers. Oh, look at that trip 4, man.
He just carries himself like, I got this. And I'd say he does if he can throw it like that.
Man, the player who holds the distinction for having traveled the farthest to bowl with us is Richard, who came all the way from Honolulu, Hawaii to be on a Prodigy short back in July. Today, we count as regulars on the show a number of visitors from Brunswick Zone Lilburn and AMF Woodstock, and even the occasional visitor from out of state. We hope to keep filling up our guest book with more names of visitors in 2018. And now, the number 5 best thing that happened on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in 2017. All of Christian's gutters and mishaps. It began on the February 11th show as we were setting the scene. Christian working on a spare here in the 10th frame. All he needs is any sort of reasonable count, a spare, and just a few pins, and he'll be in the championship round. But with that first ball in the 10th, he loses 10 pins in count, and now even if he spares and strikes on the fill ball, the best he can do is 189. He needed to beat 191 to get to the championship round. Christian is out and the field is set. Christian has made himself a target for ridicule. If it wasn't a simple single pin spare,
Oh my goodness, he fell off balance.
and he pulls it. It was his chronic problem with specific spares that were a constant state of frustration, like the 3-6-10.
Christian?
But for sheer comic relief, nothing quite matches Christian's penchant for throwing it in the moat just when we least expect it, like he did after clinching the December match play event. 269 with a strike. Wide. And today, once having the single ball elimination challenge all wrapped up, Christian just couldn't help himself. Not once, but twice. The number 4 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017. Our first road show. Live on tape from Brunswick Zone Austell in Marietta, Georgia. Back on April 15th, Brunswick Zone Roswell was taken over by a big tournament, so our league was forced to the sidelines for a week. Rather than skipping a week of Prodigy, I got the good people at Brunswick Zone Austell in Marietta, Georgia, to agree to let us come over and stage a Prodigy Bowlers Tour event over there. No sooner had I walked through the door that day that 3 little Austell kids came up to me and said, "Hey, we heard your voice. You're that Prodigy guy, aren't you?" We were greeted by a total of 18 Austell kids who were eager to bowl Prodigy, plus 2 from Stars and Strikes who followed us over, and 6 more who came all the way over from Roswell, making this the largest field up to that point for any Prodigy event. After a 2-game qualifier, we staged a championship match in 3 different divisions: the littles, the bigs, and the girls. And in each division, it happened to work out that we had 1 finalist from Austell and 1 from our Roswell kids. Hunter took top honors among the littles, Kara staged a comeback to win the girls division, and in the bigs, Brandon was overtaken by Austell's Zion, who became the first non-Roswell kid to sign his name to the coveted trophy pin.
So, way to represent Austell. I know they're going to be happy.
The number 3 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017. Hunter climbs the stepladder to win the long and winding road. We don't often do handicap events on Prodigy. Our annual Roswell Varsity and Junior Varsity Tournament of Champions is a handicap event, and this year it made for one of the most thrilling of all the Prodigy telecasts of the year. But we had no plans to do another handicap event. Hunter is just the type of kid who, despite being a lot younger and having a much lower average than most of our older Prodigy regulars, likes to get in there and mix it up with the big kids. I don't know if he thinks he has a legitimate chance to beat them scratch or not, but on this particular day, I guess I was just feeling generous and decided at the last minute to give some of our lower average players in the field a fighting chance by going with a handicap format, 90% of 200. Sure enough, Hunter squeaked into the stepladder by just 5 pins, and in his first match, he took down Christian. And he gets a Brooklyn. Then in match 2, with Hunter facing the player he most admires, Charlie, it all came down to a very tense 10th frame.
10 pin stops him. So a 202 to finish. And that means Hunter is going to need to fill 18 to win by a pin. Now he's working on a spare, so he's got to watch his count. Oh, there's 9. Gotta have this one. All right, he's got the spare. Hunter needs 9 to win. 9 or a strike. 8's a tie. 7's a loser. And he did it! The upset of the century as Hunter sneaks by Charlie and will move on to the semifinal to face Nolan. Hunter took care of Nolan's scratch, setting up the championship match against Big Logan M, a veritable David and Goliath match. But in the end, Logan's inability to carry and Hunter's steady diet of marks was enough to send Hunter home with an unforgettable day at the bowling alley.
Well.
Yes.
As I live and breathe.
Yes. This is better than everything. This is better than the first time I've ever been in a stepladder versus the 4 times I've ever been a winner on the littles. This is just the best thing ever.
The number 2 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017. It's the one thing that all of us admire. Excellence on display. And that's the way every match ought to start. There's nothing that gets my juices flowing quite like watching these kids bowl on Prodigy and get in dead stroke. We saw it back in February when Charlie went on a 3-game tear with his urethane ball, throwing games of 244, 279, and 232, notching a scorching 755 series, the best up to that time on Prodigy. Later, on May 21st, Logan F. set the standard for a 3-game series on Prodigy when he fired games of 259, 278, and 224, a scintillating 761 at the Roswell Varsity season-ending Tournament of Champions. It remains the highest 3-game set bowled on Prodigy. So, here's the situation. If Cameron spares and strikes, he shoots 270 with his handicap. Logan must strike on this ball to get into the 270s. He'll need a couple of pins in count beyond that, but he's got to have this one. And he gets it! Just a few weeks ago at the December Match Play Championship, Christian and Nick went toe-to-toe, nearly matching each other strike for strike in quite possibly the most thrilling championship match ever staged on Prodigy, as Christian came out on top at the end. And he throws his best shot. In discussing excellence on display, I would be remiss if I left out the one and only 300 game bowled on Prodigy back in July on our Let the Fireworks Begin episode. It was a Scotch doubles event, pairing one adult with one junior bowler on each team in a 9-pin no-tap format. So now it comes down to one ball. And it's all in the hands of Darren Vance for the first ever 300 game on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Here it is. He did it! 300! Not only were there strikes, but these kids showed the steady hand of a surgeon in converting split after split. Hunter for the washout. Look at this. Look at this! See what he can do. Ooh. Ooh! Oh, but not so fast. Oh, yes! It's a lot easier for a right-hander because he's hooking toward it. And that is exactly the way you convert the 2-7. Try to get the ball over to the left of the 1 pin, knock it into the 10. Just like that. And now Dakota for a big wide open split. And he converts it. And he likes it. And Joshua makes the washout. Let's see what he can do with it. How about make it? In 2017, these kids put on an awesome display of skill, guile, and determination. And I ranked it as the number 2 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017. And the number 1 best thing that happened on Prodigy in 2017 was the race for the coveted trophy pin and what Charlie did with it when he won it. Logan began the 2016-17 season by racing to 7 wins. He appeared to have a lock on the coveted trophy pin. We had determined last season that the pin would go to the player who won and therefore had signed the pin the most times. But after the start of calendar 2017, Charlie started chipping away at Logan's lead.
3 pins, and this is over. See ya. That's the winning ball right there.
Before we knew it, Charlie had climbed back and eventually tied Logan with 7 wins on the season.
This draws you into a tie with Logan for the most wins this year.
So, to decide things, we held the big showdown for the win. A 3 games total pins match that would decide the winner of the coveted trophy pin. The match turned early on a most unusual and unfortunate occurrence. The removable thumb hole in Logan's ball came loose right in the middle of his downswing, resulting in a gutter ball.
What is this?
When Logan got up in that frame, the match was still within a mark. But then, when he got up in the next frame, he was down by over 50 pins in the match and was just never quite able to draw any closer.
Charlie lit it up in the second half. Wow, look at that.
So Charlie won the coveted trophy pin, and then at the season-ending awards ceremony, he surprised most everyone in the room with what he did with it.
And the winner of the coveted trophy pin this year is Charlie Boston.
Okay.
All season, Hunter is the bowling prodigy. No matter how he bowls, low or high, he has a good attitude. Not many bowlers in this world can do what he does, and I want to give this pin to Hunter.
So there's the countdown of my top 10 best things that happened on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in 2017. Now we look forward to what's to come in 2018, and we hope you'll come along for the ride.